I paid for this.
Drop the bag. You are under arrest.
You're kidding.
Now. Man. Easy.
Don't move.
The fluorescent lights of Save Mart buzzed overhead on a typical Thursday afternoon in Columbus, Ohio. It was 3:47 p.m. when Officer Todd Harrison walked through the automatic doors, responding to a routine shoplifting call. The man he was about to confront had done absolutely nothing wrong. His name was Master Sergeant Jamal Williams, a 37-year-old black combat veteran with 2 Bronze Stars, 15 years of dedicated military service, and a completely spotless record. Jamal had just finished buying groceries for his elderly mother, who was recovering from major hip surgery. In the next 12 minutes, Officer Harrison would make a series of critical decisions that would ultimately cost him his badge, his career, and his future in law enforcement. Every single second of what happened next was captured on 4 different security cameras, preserving the truth for the world to see. Jamal Williams stood 6 feet tall, with the rigid, upright posture that comes from years of strict military discipline. That Thursday afternoon, he was on 2 weeks of leave from Fort Benning, Georgia, visiting his mother in Columbus to assist with her recovery. She had undergone hip replacement surgery 3 weeks earlier and was still struggling with basic mobility, so Jamal had flown up to manage the household. One of his daily tasks was grocery shopping. His mother had given him a specific list that morning: milk, eggs, chicken breast, fresh vegetables, some bread, and a case of bottled water. These were standard items for the week ahead. Jamal went through the store systematically, the way he did everything in his life. He grabbed a cart and worked through the aisles, checking items off the list one by one, and headed to the self-checkout lane when he was done. The store was not busy. It was mid-afternoon on a weekday, so most of the checkout lanes were empty. He scanned each item carefully. The machine beeped for the milk. It beeped for the eggs, beeped for the chicken. He went through the entire cart, placed everything in bags, and paid with his debit card. The receipt printed out, crisp and white. He folded it and put it securely in his hand, planning to give it to his mother so she could review the budget. As he pushed his cart toward the exit, he reached into one of the bags and pulled out a single bottle of water from the case he had just purchased. It was warm in the store, and he had been walking around for 20 minutes. He opened the bottle and took a long drink. He did not think twice about it. The water was paid for. The receipt was in his hand. He was just a thirsty customer. But store manager Laura Kensington saw something completely different. Laura Kensington was a 52-year-old white woman who had worked at Save Mart for 11 years, the last 4 as the manager. She prided herself on being vigilant against shoplifters. She had caught dozens over the years, and the district manager had commended her multiple times for her loss prevention statistics. When she saw Jamal drinking from the water bottle while still inside the store perimeter, something clicked in her mind. She saw a black man consuming merchandise before exiting the double doors. Despite having no actual evidence of theft, and despite not checking the cameras or verifying the transaction data, she made an immediate assumption. She walked quickly toward Jamal, her shoes clicking loudly on the linoleum floor. "Excuse me, sir," she called out. "Sir, did you pay for that water?" Jamal stopped pushing his cart and turned around slowly. He was used to this kind of scrutiny. It happened more often than he liked to admit. The suspicion, the baseless assumptions, the need to constantly prove he belonged in ordinary spaces. "Yes, ma'am," he said, keeping his voice polite and level. "Just checked out." He held up the receipt that was still clutched in his hand. "Everything is on here." Laura did not look at the receipt. She did not take it from his hand to examine the items or the timestamp. She had already decided what was happening in her narrative. "I need you to come with me to the office so we can verify that," she demanded. Jamal felt his jaw tighten. "You can verify it right here," he countered. "The receipt is time-stamped. It shows I paid 3 minutes ago. Just look at it." "Store policy requires verification in the office when there is a question about payment," Laura insisted, crossing her arms. "There should not be a question," Jamal said firmly. "I am showing you the receipt right now." Laura's expression hardened into authority. "Sir, I am asking you to cooperate. If you refuse, I will have to call the police." Jamal took a slow, deep breath. He had been in combat zones. He had been shot at by enemies. He had seen things that would give most people nightmares. But standing in a grocery store, being accused of stealing water he had paid for, made his blood pressure spike in a way firefights never had. "Ma'am, you can call whoever you want," he said. "I am not going to any office when I have not done anything wrong. I paid for my groceries. Here is the receipt with my card number. You can check your security cameras if you do not believe me." Laura pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Officer Todd Harrison was only 2 blocks away when the dispatch came through his radio. The call went out as a retail theft in progress at Save Mart, located at 2847 Henderson Avenue. The manager reported a subject consuming merchandise and refusing to cooperate with loss prevention. Todd was 29 years old, with 5 years on the Columbus Police Department. He enjoyed his job, particularly the authority that came with the uniform. He liked the way people's attitudes shifted when he arrived on a scene. The fear, the respect, the power dynamic. He flipped on his emergency lights and drove to Save Mart, pulling into the parking lot, less than 3 minutes after the call was placed. He walked through the automatic doors with his hand already resting on his belt, dangerously close to his service weapon. It was a posture he had developed early in his career, one designed to establish dominance immediately before a word was even spoken. Laura met him just inside the entrance, speaking quickly before he had even fully entered the store environment. "Thank God you are here," she said, breathless. "That man over there," she pointed a finger toward Jamal. "He drank a water without paying for it. Now he is refusing to come to the office to verify." Todd looked where she was pointing. He saw Jamal Williams standing near his shopping cart. He saw a black man in his 30s wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt, arms crossed, looking frustrated but not aggressive. In Todd's mind, the calculation was instant and automatic. Black man, accusation of theft, manager calling the police. That was all the information he needed. Walked over with that same dominant posture, shoulders back, chin up. "Sir, the manager called," Todd announced loudly. "You need to pay for that water and leave." Jamal held up his receipt for the second time. "I already paid," he stated clearly. "The receipt is right here in my hand." Todd barely glanced at the paper. "Do not walk away from me," the officer barked. "Put your hands where I can see them." Jamal had not moved an inch. He was standing in the exact same spot. "I am holding groceries," Jamal explained, lifting the bag slightly. "I am trying to show you the receipt." Todd's patience evaporated. "Okay, you know what? You are under arrest. Drop the bags right now." Jamal carefully set down the 2 grocery bags he was holding. He moved slowly and deliberately, making no sudden movements because he knew exactly how these situations could go wrong in America. "Officer," Jamal said calmly, "I paid for everything in this cart. The receipt shows every item. It is time-stamped from 4 minutes ago. The cameras will show me scanning and paying for everything, including this water." Todd snatched the receipt from Jamal's hand. He looked at it for maybe 2 seconds, not actually reading the item list or checking the time, just holding it like a prop. "How do I know this is your receipt?" Todd asked skeptically. "How do I know you did not pick it up off the floor?" Jamal stared at him in total disbelief. "You are serious right now. The receipt is time-stamped 4 minutes ago. The card number matches my debit card. The items on the receipt match what is in my cart." Todd's expression darkened. He did not like being challenged. "Turn around. Hands behind your back," he ordered. "For what?" Jamal asked. "What crime am I being arrested for?" "Retail theft and disorderly conduct," Todd replied. "I have not stolen anything and I have been calm. Asking questions is not disorderly," Jamal argued. "You are being argumentative with me. That is disorderly," Todd countered. "I am requesting your supervisor," Jamal said, invoking his rights. "I want a supervisor here before you arrest me. I am a Master Sergeant in the United States Army." Todd laughed. "Sure you are, and I am a general. Turn around." By this point, a crowd had gathered. An elderly woman and a college student were recording. Todd grabbed Jamal's arm and yanked it behind his back, hard. The shoulder that had been injured by shrapnel during Jamal's second deployment to Afghanistan screamed in pain. "That is my injured shoulder," Jamal hissed through clenched teeth. "You are hurting me." "Should have thought about that before you stole," Todd sneered. The handcuffs clicked shut around Jamal's wrists. Todd made them tight, tighter than necessary. Within seconds, Jamal could feel his hands starting to go numb. Witnesses began to shout. "I saw him pay," the elderly woman cried out. I have video of him paying, the student yelled. Todd ignored them all. He grabbed Jamal by the arm and marched him toward the exit, leaving the paid groceries sitting in the cart. Todd opened the back door of his patrol car and guided Jamal inside. He was not gentle. Jamal sat on the hard plastic seat, smelling the disinfectant and old sweat, separated from freedom by a metal cage. He sat there, handcuffed painfully behind his back, his injured shoulder throbbing, feeling a rage building inside him. Not the hot rage of combat, but the cold rage of injustice. Todd got in the front seat and began typing on his laptop, radioing dispatch. One subject in custody for retail theft. While Todd was in the parking lot filling out his initial report, the reality inside the store was shifting rapidly. The college student with the video had approached Laura Kensington. "You need to see this," he said, holding up his phone. The video clearly showed Jamal at the self-checkout, carefully scanning every item, including the case of water, inserting his card, and taking his receipt. Laura's face went pale as she watched. She realized she had just called the police on a man who had done absolutely nothing wrong. The assistant manager rushed from the back office. "Laura, I checked the security footage. 4 different angles. He definitely paid for everything." Laura ran out to the parking lot. Todd was still in his patrol car. She knocked frantically on his window. "Officer, I need to talk to you," she pleaded. Todd rolled down the window, looking annoyed. "Ma'am, I am processing the arrest," he said. "He paid for everything," Laura blurted out. "I have the security footage, 4 cameras showing him scanning every item. This was a mistake." Todd stared at her blankly. "You called 911 saying he stole," he said. "I was wrong," she admitted. "I made a mistake. The cameras prove he paid. Please, let him go. I am not pressing charges." This was the critical moment. Todd could have admitted the error, uncuffed Jamal, and apologized. Instead, he doubled down. "Ma'am, he was uncooperative and disorderly," Todd said coldly. "It is not up to you anymore. He is under arrest." Laura stepped back from the car, horrified, realizing she had started a chain reaction she could no longer stop. Todd put the car in gear and drove Jamal to the police station. The drive to the police station took 14 minutes. Jamal sat in the back in absolute silence. He knew better than to say anything that could be twisted and used against him. At the station, Jamal was taken to the booking area. The officer doing the intake was a man named Miguel Alvarez. Miguel was a veteran who had served in the Marines before becoming a police officer, and he held a specific respect for active duty personnel. When Miguel took Jamal's wallet to inventory his personal property, he pulled out Jamal's military identification card. It read, "Master Sergeant Jamal Williams, active duty." The ID displayed his rank, his high-level security clearance, and his unit at Fort Benning. Miguel looked at the ID, then looked sharply at Officer Todd Harrison. "He is active duty military?" Miguel asked. Todd shrugged. "He says he is." Miguel held up the card. "This is a Department of Defense identification card. It is real. What is he being charged with?" "Retail theft," Todd replied. Miguel pulled up Todd's preliminary arrest report on the computer and read it. Then he looked at Todd with an expression that said he had seen many bad arrests, but this was a disaster. "Where is the stolen merchandise?" Miguel asked. Todd hesitated. "The store has it." "You did not recover any stolen items from his person?" Miguel pressed. "The manager said he drank a water," Todd mumbled. "Did you verify that? Did you check his receipt?" Miguel asked. "He had a receipt, but—" Todd trailed off, getting defensive. "The manager called it in. I responded." Miguel closed the computer screen with a snap. "I am not processing this," he announced. "Call your supervisor." Todd was stunned. "What? You have to process him. I am not booking an active-duty master sergeant for retail theft when you recovered no merchandise. He has a valid receipt, and the store manager is now saying it was a mistake," Miguel stated firmly. "Call your supervisor right now." Todd's supervisor was Lieutenant Daniel Crossman, a 20-year veteran of the force. He arrived at the booking station 25 minutes later. The expression on his face when Miguel Alvarez explained the situation told everyone in the room that someone was about to have a very bad day. Lieutenant Crossman read Todd's report, spoke quietly to Miguel, and examined Jamal's military ID. Then, he walked directly to the holding area where Jamal was waiting. "Master Sergeant Williams," the lieutenant said. Jamal looked up calmly. Yes, sir. I am Lieutenant Crossman. On behalf of the Columbus Police Department, I apologize. This arrest was improper. You are being released immediately. No charges will be filed. Jamal's voice was level but firm. I want documentation of this, he said. I want the names and badge numbers of everyone involved. I want copies of all reports, all body camera footage, and all security footage from the store. I want it in writing that I was arrested without probable cause. Crossman nodded respectfully. You are entitled to all of that. And again, Master Sergeant, I sincerely apologize. This should never have happened. Jamal stood up, rubbing his wrists where the handcuffs had dug into his skin. With all due respect, sir, your apology does not change the fact that I was handcuffed in front of a crowd, thrown in a patrol car, and treated like a criminal for buying groceries. Your officer damaged my injured shoulder. Your officer ignored multiple witnesses. Your officer refused to look at clear evidence. An apology does not fix that. You are absolutely right, Crossman admitted. It does not. But I will make sure this is addressed. 2 hours after being arrested in the Save Mart parking lot, Jamal walked out of the police station. His mother was waiting outside. She took one look at his face and knew the humiliation he had endured. Jamal did not say a word. He was already planning his next steps. The very next morning, Jamal contacted the Military Legal Assistance Office at Fort Benning. The attorney assigned to him was Captain Rachel Mitchell. You have witnesses, video evidence, a receipt, and you were arrested anyway? She asked, stunned. This is a clear civil rights violation. The military will support you in pursuing this. She helped Jamal file a formal complaint with the Columbus Police Department's Internal Affairs Division and contacted the Department of Defense Legal Affairs Office. Within 48 hours, the Columbus police chief received calls from 2 different military legal offices. The message was clear. Handle this properly, or the military would get involved. The internal affairs investigation was opened immediately. The investigator, Lieutenant Isabel Moreno, pulled all the security footage. She watched the 4 camera angles, showing Jamal shopping, paying, and being confronted. She interviewed the witnesses who confirmed Jamal's innocence. She interviewed Laura Kensington, who admitted she had made a baseless assumption. Then, Lieutenant Moreno investigated Officer Todd Harrison's history. She found a disturbing pattern. Over 5 years, Todd had generated citizen complaints at a rate 60% higher than other officers. She found specific incidents. A black teenager stopped for truancy despite having early dismissal papers. A Hispanic woman questioned about her own car. A black jogger accused of casing houses. The statistics were damning. Todd had arrested minority subjects at a rate 3.8 times higher than white subjects in similar situations. Lieutenant Moreno's final report was 42 pages long. Her conclusion was undeniable. Officer Harrison demonstrated a consistent pattern of racial bias. Her recommendation was immediate termination. Todd was given a hearing where he tried to argue that he was just following procedure. But the evidence showed he had ignored the receipt, ignored the witnesses, and ignored the manager's retraction. The hearing lasted 3 hours. The decision was unanimous. Todd Harrison was terminated from the Columbus Police Department. The consequences did not end with Todd's firing. Jamal filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city and Todd Harrison personally. His lawsuit alleged false arrest, malicious prosecution, violation of Fourth Amendment rights, violation of 14th Amendment equal protection rights, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The city's legal team reviewed the overwhelming evidence, the security footage, the receipt, the witness statements, and the internal affairs report confirming racial bias. They knew they could not win in front of a jury. Settlement. Negotiations began within 2 weeks. The city eventually agreed to settle for $340,000. But Jamal wanted more than just money. The settlement required comprehensive policy changes for the entire police department. It mandated mandatory security footage review before any arrests in retail theft cases. It required body cameras for all officers at all times. It established quarterly audits of arrest data by race and created an independent review board for use of force incidents. The settlement also included one specific, non-negotiable demand from Jamal, a public apology from the police chief, delivered at a televised press conference with Jamal present. The city agreed. This was not just about compensation. It was about accountability. It was about ensuring that what happened to Master Sergeant Williams would not happen to another citizen in Columbus. The legal victory was complete, sending a shockwave through the department. The press conference took place 3 months after the arrest. Jamal stood at the podium, wearing his full military dress uniform. The ribbons on his chest told the story of his sacrifice: 2 bronze stars, a Purple Heart, and 15 years of service. The police chief read a prepared statement acknowledging the department's failure. Then, Jamal stepped to the microphone. "I served this country for 15 years, he said, his voice steady and projecting across the room. "I have been deployed to combat zones twice. I have been wounded defending American freedom. And I came home and got arrested for buying groceries. Not because I did anything wrong, but because I am a black man in America." To Officer Harrison, that was suspicious enough. That tells you everything you need to know about how we are seen. Not as veterans, not as neighbors, but as threats. That has to change. The video of the arrest went viral, viewed millions of times. SaveMart fired Laura Kensington and issued a public apology. As for Todd Harrison, he tried to find another job in law enforcement. Over 6 months, he applied to 9 different police departments. Every single one rejected him due to his termination for racial bias. He eventually found work as a security guard at a warehouse, making $16.50 an hour. Jamal returned to active duty and was promoted to sergeant major the following year. The security footage of his arrest is now used in police academies across the country as a training tool, a permanent lesson on what happens when an officer acts on bias instead of evidence. 1 bottle of water, 1 receipt, and 1 assumption changed everything.